That's
Okay,
Andy Black joining us. Do we have time for a few quick phone calls here before we go to break? I know there's been a lot of people that have been waiting on hold. I apologize for that. We try to get to as many calls as we can on this show. Let's take a few quick calls. 702-257-5396. Let's go to BC. BC, you're first up. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, BC?
Hey, what's up? Hey, we were talking about Fauci before this lady was on, and I just want to know, what's the point of him? Why do we even pay this guy?
Well, I would say the point of him is that he is very knowledgeable when it comes to infectious disease. Doesn't mean he's always going to be right. Doesn't necessarily mean that he's 100% right in everything that he says. But he is an expert, and he knows more than you. He knows more than me. He knows more.
He can know more than me. I agree with that. But what I'm saying is, what is he useful for? So he's smart. That's good. But what happens? Because, Georgetown, 2017, I'm sure you're aware of this, at a forum of, pandemic preparedness, he gave a speech where he basically guaranteed that Donald Trump's administration would have to endure a surprise pandemic. I mean, these are his words during his administration. I mean, isn't that kind of freaking? That's like, doesn't that sound creepy to you? That he's
that's a little ominous. It's a bit ominous, sure.
Do you think it's ominous that members of his own administration told him that? Do you think it's ominous that Barack Obama said that in his speech?
No, that's not true. That's not true.
What's not true?
Because that's not out there. I don't know where you get that information.
Barack Obama, in the second year of his presidency, I don't have the audio right now. We can play it tomorrow. In the second year of his presidency, Barack Obama said we were not prepared for a very serious pandemic, and he asked for funds in order to do so.
That's different than that's totally different than guaranteeing a surprise pandemic, though.
George W. Bush, who I would imagine you supported, did the exact same thing and warned this country of a very serious pandemic.
I don't anymore. You're right, I did, but I don't anymore because I'm awake.
So what would you say about Okay, well, I'm not. Guess what? I'm not a leftist stooge either. So I don't know why you would make a statement. No, I'm not.
Come on.
What is my voting record, sir? If you want to call me a leftist stooge.
Your voting record.
So you don't care what I am, but you want to label me a Democrat because I don't like Trump? You're the stooge. You're the stooge. Get off the show. You're the stooge.
Hey, really good call,
You see,
JD.
you try to pin. See,
BC.
Yeah, great call. You're right, JD. He calls up. And then he blames Fauci for making an ominous statement in 2017. And then I bring up George W. Bush, who he voted for, who made very similar statements during his presidency. And how does he respond when you put somebody in a corner and they're an idiot? How do they respond? You're a leftist stooge. I don't care who you voted. You're a leftist stooge. Folks, that is the exact type of person that I'm talking about that is not smart enough to have a debate, and when you prove them wrong, they just call you a leftist stooge.
Did he call George W. Bush a leftist stooge?
Yes, he did.
Okay, so basically when anybody moderates their stance or anybody who looks less Republican next to Donald Trump is a leftist.
And then he lumped Brian into that same conversation.
I would not call the Bushes leftist in any
Well, he's an idiot. He's an idiot, and he brought up. We have to take a break. But he brought up in 2017 something that Fauci said, and then when I bring up George W. Bush, who he admitted he voted for, all of a sudden he's in a corner, and instead of saying, well, you're right about that, he calls me a leftist stooge. All right, we got to take a quick break. When we get back, we will take more of your phone calls at 257-5396. Take a quick break. Be back right after this. Let's take Sharp and Shapiro. Reminder, coming up at the top of the hour, one of my favorite stand-up comics, one of the best in the business, one of the best stand-up comics on the planet. I think that's very safe to say. The legend himself, George Wallace, will be joining us at the top of the hour. Give us a few laughs in these very difficult times. I'll give you something else that's a little laughable here. So as you know, the Fertitta family, they're billionaires. They're extremely wealthy. They've donated a lot of money to UNLV. Of course, Bishop Gorman. They've thrown a lot of money around, okay? And Tilman Fertitta owns the Houston Rockets.
Tilman is not related to Frank Fertitta, Brian.
Right.
I believe they may be distant cousins.
I believe they are, if I'm not mistaken. And Rockets owner Tilman Fertitta, we're talking about now, is worth $4.7 billion estimated earnings. So here's a man with an enormous amount of money. Okay, sure, he's a smart guy, great businessman, obviously.
He also owns a golden nugget.
Yeah, no question.
Yeah.
So with that being said, he's doing an interview with Brian Kilmeade, who does the morning show here at KDWN. It does a good job. He's been on our show before. And Tilman Fertitta was asked about layoffs, how many people he's had to lay off. I want you to listen to his response to this. Have a listen to this.
You're doing your people a favor if you get them furloughed first, because they're the first to the unemployment line after the severance that you give them. And it's a trick that I learned many years ago.
Okay. Doing people a favor by laying them off earlier. Again, here's a man that is worth close to $5 billion. He chose not to pay his employees. Maybe he gave them a little bit of severance, but he decided to lay off his employees, and he wants to pat himself on the back and saying he did his employees a favor. That's right. You can't make this stuff up, folks. He did his employees a favor by firing them earlier than everybody else. Let me tell you right now, this is a disgrace. 45,000 employees. He could have chose to pay his employees for a couple months. Sure, it would have cost him some money. The man is worth close to $5 billion. You're doing your people a favor if you get them furloughed first. This man is 62 years old, and, he called shuttering most of his company just unimaginable. But yet he's saying he did them a favor by laying them off. He also, to me, this is so disgusting.
Well,
phrase it the way he
do you know how he got control of the Rockets?
I do not.
He got it through loans. He's totally leveraged. He just went on a couple days ago and basically a cry for help, asked for $250 million in cash, and he guaranteed a 15% return. So Tilman Fertitta's net worth is not anywhere near $5 billion.
Well,
it may be $1 billion.
Well,
but he is leveraged through the gills through banks.
Well, you know what? There's a lot of people with a lot of money that sometimes pull shenanigans like that. So I'm not going to sit here and say, well, maybe he's hurting. This is a billionaire. He's got a lot of money. He said on the record, on with Brian Kilmeade, and Kilmeade, by the way, had a surprised response if you look at his facial expression. When you say you're doing your employees favors and you want to be patted on the back for laying off your employees earlier than other people, you are a disgrace. Tilman Fertitta, you need to apologize to your employees. You need to apologize for the words. You need to set the record straight, or you are just a horrible human being. You want these employees that you fired to thank you? It is disgusting. What are your thoughts on that? A billionaire saying that he deserves credit for laying off his employees? It is a joke.
Let's flip the script. Let's say that those employees stayed on for 3 extra weeks, and revenue because of all this stuff dropped significantly, and he still had all the expenses for running the establishments for those employees, and then he still had to pay those employees. So you have to factor that in as well. I'm not saying it's. I think it's stated out of context, but in practice, it makes a little bit of sense.
It makes zero sense to me. If he's phrased it that way, then I agree with you. It would have made sense, but that's not what he said.
But you have to factor all that. You have to factor all that in.
Then he could have said that. Then he could have said that. I can only go by what people say. Okay, and that's what Tilman Fertitta said. If he said that, JD, we wouldn't have been having this conversation. I would have had no problem with it. He said he was doing his employees a favor.
I am interpreting it as a whole, also as a business owner.
Well, you know what? We do this with Donald Trump all the time. I can only go by what Donald Trump says, not what he meant to say or not what you might think he's thinking. I'm going by what this man said. And this man is a billionaire. He wants to be congratulated and thanked for laying off his employees sooner. It's outrageous. If you want to give a little background on it and said, well, listen, here's why I had to do this, I have no problem with that. But to phrase it the way he did is so condescending. You think his employees are very thankful to him? I think not.
And it's kind of applies the same thing. Why do you think Steve Sisolak to shut down the Strip? Because all these had this virus, had this crisis continued to spread through the mainstream media, and after Rudy Gobert got it and Tom Hanks, no one was coming to Las Vegas. No tourists were coming to Las Vegas at that point. Each one of those major Strip properties, I mean, they're spending $3 to $5 million every day just keeping their doors open. So Steve Sisolak really saved the big owners of the Las Vegas Strip. The Sheldon Adelson, the people who own the Wynn, people who own MGM. He saved all those companies a lot of money by shutting the doors, because again, it's the same concept as to why I believe that station casinos, which are owned by the other Fertittas, will open up first, because you cannot open the Las Vegas Strip unless you have the tourism demand to do so. Otherwise, you are literally setting money on fire.
Well, I've been on the record as saying I don't think the Strip could be open for 3 or 4 months. 702-257-5396. We're going to get back to the phone calls right now. Again, that number 257-5396. Let's go to Robbie. Robbie, you're next on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Robbie?
Hey, what's up? I just saw you change the subject a little bit, but yeah, billionaires just don't get the credit they deserve, So it's just, he's backstage laughing and saying, hey, I'm going to make these guys thank me for laying them off. But it doesn't matter. I'm just kidding. I was actually calling because the gal that was on earlier and I'm with church and prayer. I really am, and I wish I was holy enough to go and be the Indian that stand in the donation basket or whatever it was back in the day. But it's kind of tough to hear all that pushing prayer and this and that when, like you said, you could absolutely hurt someone else.
Robbie, can I just interject? Yeah, you're right. You're right, Robbie. I want to add this, if I may. And I appreciate Annie Black coming on, but here's the part of that interview that is so troubling to me. It's the one part of that interview where I think she made a huge mistake. I have no problem with her praying in her car in front of a church. That's fine because that's social distancing. But I asked her a very, very, very fair question and a logical question, and she couldn't answer it. I said, are you okay with hundreds of people gathering inside churches? All she had to say was, no, I'm not okay with it. She danced around the question. This is the problem with some of these Republicans and the alt-right. They can't even answer a simple question like that can put you or me or JD or anybody in harm's way because
people are or our parents.
Exactly. And that's my problem with people like Annie Black. And all due respect to her, I appreciate her coming on. I really lost a lot of respect for her when she couldn't answer that question directly. Right? Am I wrong? You listened to the interview. She danced around it,
No,
Robbie, didn't she?
I did, and that's the way I feel about it. If you're going to push it really hard, the prayer, you kind of got to back it up on all edges. If you're going to push that hard, you can't really just pick gaming. If you look, one of your guys Google how many lives are ruined every day from a gambling addiction, it's going to be astronomical. So it's hard to say we do this and that's cool, but don't do this and we're going to do this.
Exactly.
You got to kind of be all in like a sports team.
Robbie, and here's another I'm glad you brought that up. She went after Sisolak because he wasn't consistent. Well, guess who's not being consistent? She's not being consistent, right? I mean, that's what you're saying, right?
Well, it just seems like you got to be all the way across the board if you're going to push an issue.
Yeah, I agree. Things. I agree, Robbie. Hey, thanks for the call, man. We appreciate it.
Good call, Robbie.
702-257-5396. Let's go to Jennifer. Jennifer, you're next on the Vegas tape.
Hey, what's up, Jennifer?
Hi, good morning. I agree. Some of these, about Steve Sisolak, some of these politicians, what they deemed essential or non-essential is how it benefits them. For instance, Steve Sisolak owns a dispensary, marijuana dispensary. I understand people need medical marijuana. I don't think everyone on every corner needs to be open, but he owns one, so of course he's going to.
Hey, which one does he own? Do you know?
No, I don't know. I think he owns a couple of them, though. Owns one and so of another one. But he's from California, very liberal. I think he's going to be a one-termer anyway. But I think that's just a little hypocrisy.
Well, it would be a conflict of interest.
Yes, it is. Since there's other small businesses that are not doing work right now. I mean, I don't know how you get to pick and choose. It's your own business.
No, listen, Jennifer, hang on the line here for a second. Jennifer, I agree with you. I'm not for any conflict of interest when it comes to any politician, Democrat or Republican. Would you say it's a conflict of interest when Donald Trump goes to Mar-a-Lago as many times as he has? Would you say it's a conflict of interest when he stays at the Trump Tower like he did here for a week and a half in Las Vegas? Would you also call that a conflict of interest?
No, he's got to stay somewhere. He owns it. Why wouldn't he?
So it's not okay. So here's where if I could just comment.
And I'm telling you why you're wrong.
Okay. Well,
all right.
Here's why I believe I'm right. It is costing the taxpayer money, and it is money in the Trump family's pocket when he stays at a Trump hotel or Mar-a-Lago. Now, you just said, well, where else is he going to stay? Is that a joke? There are places all over Las Vegas that he could have stayed at.
Well,
but
I know that it'd be more expensive. He'd be spending more money, and he's got,
What do you think he would have spent more? So you think he saved money while putting more money in his family's pocket? So you're not willing to call that no, hold on a second. You're not willing to call that a conflict of interest, but yet you want to go after a liberal. Why can't you be consistent and say, you know what? It's wrong when Trump uses taxpayer-funded dollars to play at his golf courses. Why can't you be consistent with your opinions?
Because it's not the same thing, Brian.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
It's a conflict of interest.
This is much worse because Steve Sisolak is choosing what businesses are essential and what aren't. And if he owns a couple of dispensaries and he's deeming dispensaries essential, then he is making that decision to keep them open to put money in his
Last
pocket.
I checked,
Donald Trump he's not staying at Trump Hotel right now. He's not going to Mar-a-Lago right now. Mar-a-Lago's making no money right now.
I didn't say it was happening now.
This is happening now.
I didn't say no.
This is happening during a crisis. It is a totally assuming what she's saying is true. And I don't know if it's true or not.
And
I've never heard of it, but assuming it's true, and Steve Sisolak actually owns a couple of dispensaries,
we don't know,
and he has a choice to keep those open as opposed to other small businesses.
Don't know if that's
that
true.
is significantly more,
number one,
in my opinion, egregious than Donald Trump during a normal economy using taxpayer money to stay at Mar-a-Lago or to stay at his hotels.
First of all, I didn't say on the level of egregious. I wanted her to admit that was also a conflict.
I'm saying it's not
I could
the
just
same
finish. I didn't say.
Trump Tower isn't a casino, though. It would have been just so much worse to be at a casino with tourists and the convention. The Trump.
So again, it's not a conflict of interest that his daughter Ivanka is in the administration with no experience. It's not a conflict of interest that Jared Kushner is in the position he is as his son-in-law. That's perfectly okay to you. But you want to go? Excuse me. You can't. Why is it that you can't call out Donald Trump for any conflict of interest, but yet you want to go after Steve Sisolak? Could it have something to do with the fact that you have you're a Republican? Will you at least admit that?
Well, I voted for him, but I'm more independent. But I voted both ways.
You sound very independent. Yes, I agree.
I mean, Brian, I just agreed with her. So basically, you're calling me out for the exact same thing, and I'm telling you that's not the case at all.
What I am saying
that is not the case at all. This would be like Donald Trump choosing to come to Las Vegas, forcing Steve Sisolak to open the hotel.
Do you have proof?
And then staying. Okay, we don't have proof. Exactly.
Then I'm not going to entertain it because it's ridiculous.
No, we have no idea if Steve Sisolak actually owns dispensaries.
You have a lady who just called. If I could just finish.
But hypothetically, if he did that, it would be
I'm not going to deal in hypotheticals. You have a lady who just called in. I tried to figure out whether she was full of crap or not. She's not willing to admit that Donald Trump, Donald Trump decided to stay at his own hotels, plays at his own golf courses, and that's not a conflict of interest. She wouldn't admit that, but she wants to have some sort of conspiracy theory that Steve Sisolak owns all these dispensaries. It just, you want to talk about zero credibility? That woman has zero credibility. 257.
Hey, great call, Jennifer.
Wasn't a great call at all. 257-5396 is the number to call. All people have to do is just be honest here. If you think Sisolak has a conflict, by the way, there's no proof to back that up, but you can't admit that Trump, with the family members that are in his cabinet, with how much money the Trump organization has made, you can't admit that? It's embarrassing. 257-5396. Let's go to Ron. Ron, you're next on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Ron?
Hello?
Yeah, Ron, go ahead, man.
How you doing, guys?
Good.
Hey,
doing well.
Defend Brian in this because it was several months ago. I do got to admit, when they were having the different candidates for a presidential position, Brian did say he would vote for Trump. Brian said, and correct me, Brian, if I'm wrong, but you said you would vote for Trump if that would be the best candidate for the country. And but he is. It's hard for me, Brian, to tell whether you're a little bit left to the center or right, because you do attack our president, but
Did we lose?
Okay, you schooled me, and this is another reason why I like you, because you're respectful and you know how to debate. And
I agree with everything. I agree with everything you said, except for the respectful part. I'm sorry.
Well,
Ron. Go ahead.
You're respectful to me. You're respectful to me.
Well, because you're a good caller, Ron. Because you're a good caller, Ron, and you're a smart guy, and we don't agree. People.
Okay, but
thank you, Ron.
My other other deal is Brian. I want your opinion on this. The Republicans and the conservatives, they're not going to forget this. And if Trump happens to lose presidency, they're going to do the same thing, and the country's still not going to go nowhere. They're going to do the same thing to a Democratic president.
Yeah.
Because what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
No, Ron, good call, and I completely agree with you. I don't know what's going to happen in 2020, but I think it's fair to say that this coronavirus, this pandemic, regardless of whether you agree or disagree with the president's response, I don't think this is helping the president at all. Let's go to Jim. Jim, you're next on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Jim?
Well, good morning. My politics really were apathetic after Bush. I actually voted for him, and I'm a Democrat. However, I did vote for Bush. after that, I became completely apathetic up until now. After watching what's been going on, I have one really big question. I would like to know just how many people have been through the White House and have either quit or been fired.
Or gone to jail. You forgot that, Cat. Or gone to jail. You could.
You know, apropos, I had always thought that Richard Nixon was our biggest criminal and the most dangerous president we have ever had. And now, wow, I think he's been topped. After listening to the dictator speech.
Let me say this, Jim. Jim, I don't think you could have personally picked a worse president to be leading this country at this time during this pandemic. I got to be honest with you.
I am amazed at what I'm listening to now. I wish sometimes I wish I would have just stayed with my head in the sand and been quiet at the parties where there's my liberal friends on one side of the room, like my ultra conservatives are on the other side, and my middle of the road common sense politics is not welcome by either. And now what I'm seeing is I cannot believe this. Where we are today. And,
Jim, you can't be in the middle. You can't be in the middle today, right? If I go after Donald Trump, all of a sudden I'm a liberal, I'm a libtard. And if I go at, the times that I have criticized Barack Obama, the times I have talked about Bill Clinton, and yes, I do think Bill Clinton is a rapist, the times I have said things like that, then people go out and call me a right-winger. It's just, you can't be in the middle and just be a logical American anymore. You have to be on one side of the aisle. It's like being a Lakers fan or a Celtics fan, and I'm tired of it. I'm tired of where we're at today in politics. I really am.
My own friends, my own family have accused me of either being, depending on which side of the room, either being a stormtrooper in the closet or an out-and-out socialist, because I believe that the insurance companies have just ruined medicine for the United States.
Yeah. Well, I know I cannot.
These are my opinions.
Yeah, no, and I can't speak about you being in the closet or not. I'm sorry, that was a horrible joke. No, but in all seriousness,
yes, you can. The political closet, Brian.
The political. I know what he was saying. Right. It was a joke, JD. You don't get my jokes. It's all right though. It's fine. It's fine.
This is not a time to joke, Brian.
Okay. It's really.
It's a very serious time.
Really?
No comedic relief
it's
whatsoever.
Not a time to laugh.
Nope. No laughing. No joking.
I think if Brian's in the closet, that's his business. There's nothing wrong with that.
I got a lot of skeletons in my closet.
I wouldn't laugh at that because I wouldn't be surprised.
702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Troy. Troy, you're next on the Vegas take.
Hey, what's up, Troy?
Hey, Brian, how's it going?
Good, man. What's on your mind, Troy?
Hey, you said earlier that people on the right or Republicans can't answer a question when you give
not everybody. Not everybody. I'm speaking specifically to people. I'm speaking specifically to people that are on the way on the alt-right. Not everybody. If I said that, then that's not. I think that there are some on the way on the left and way on the right that don't answer questions, and I think Annie Black, who we had in the first segment, was a perfect example of that.
I was very surprised that she couldn't answer that question because that's a very easy answer.
I have a question. So last time I called, I asked a very simple, straightforward question, very respectfully, and then your show hung up on me, and then you guys gave a non-answer without me being able to.
What is your question? Go ahead. What is your question?
My question before, and you'll remember it, was why is this coronavirus being called a pandemic? And then you asked
I'll answer it. And I'll answer it. I'll gladly answer your question. Have you seen how many people are infected across the world? Have you seen how many people have died across the world? I'll even go in this country. Do you understand the fact that we don't have a cure? There is no cure for this virus right now. All the experts have saying we have never seen anything like this before. It is killing people. It is killing a lot of people. A lot of people are infected. And that's really, to be honest with you, that's the definition of what a pandemic is. This is a very serious situation. Why do you not understand that? I just answered your question very logically, best and honest as I could.
Let me respond if you would, please. Well, one thing you said was correct, that it is worldwide, but a pandemic has another important part to it. It has to affect an exceptionally high proportion of the population.
And you don't think 2% or 3% of people dying that get this virus? You don't think that is a high percentage? You don't think that's cause of concern?
No. That's of that get the virus, Brian. That's of that get the virus.
The cases only meet 0.2% worldwide and in the United States. So only 0.2% of the population.
Because we haven't been tested. Do you not understand that? What are you talking about? There's over 500,000 people that are infected.
But what he's saying is that if we test more, we'll find out. And actually, Michael Burry, who the Big Short is based off of, the genius who came up with the housing crisis in 08, what he's saying is that if we do test everybody, we're going to find out that people that the percentage of the population actually affected as in go to the hospital, die, have serious symptoms is going to be close to 0.2 or 0.3%.
And we don't know that for sure. I'm only going by the numbers we have right now.
Here's my whole point. My whole point is you don't call it a baby or a toddler a teenager until it becomes a teenager. So what is
your point? You think we should open everything up? You don't think this is what is your point?
Yeah.
Pandemic or no pandemic?
Yeah.
Do you disagree that you think the strip should be open? What are you trying to say?
Absolutely.
You think the strip should be open right now? Do you realize how asinine that opinion is? Do you realize how dumb that you're trying to now I know why I hung up on you. Get lost. Get lost. Goodbye.
Really, really good call. Appreciated it.
Yeah.
Also, I think that the strip can't be open until
now I remember why I hung up on that moron.
Because the Las Vegas Strip depends on a lot of international travel, which shouldn't be huge for probably, I would say, maybe 4 to 6 months. But it also needs domestic travel. So until 10 or 12 good sites, like once Texas opens and Arizona, assuming California and Washington, Oregon don't decide not to open just for political purposes. What's up?
We disagree on a lot of things.
We do, yeah,
and that's okay.
Yeah.
Can you please agree with me that last guy talking to me about whether it's a pandemic or not, and then saying we should open everything up? We agree he's an idiot?
Well, I'm not.
Please, can you just call him an idiot once?
I'm not going to call him an idiot because then people will start calling in and calling me an idiot, which I don't want to happen. But it's obviously a pandemic.
It's obviously. So we agree on that.
It started as an epidemic in China, but even then it really wasn't an epidemic because there was only 80,000 cases with 2 billion people.
So that's the first opinion he had, which was ridiculous. How about the second opinion? When I asked him, do you think we should just open everything up? What's your point? And he said, yes, we should open everything up.
As of right now, if you did that, it would not work. But I believe, and I've said this yesterday, that once all the antibody tests are done, and there's been widespread testing not for the virus, because the virus only lasts 20 to 24 days. It doesn't really make a difference. But once those tests are done, we're going to find out that this was a massive overreaction, and it probably shouldn't have taken place in the first place. But we didn't really have a choice because we didn't know much about it.
I'd rather have a massive overreaction than a massive underreaction. That is for sure. We're going to take a quick break. We'll get some more of your calls when we come back. By the way, why does a very popular anchor on CNN hate his job? That's what he said. We'll tell you exactly who that is, and we have the audio coming up next right here on the Vegas Take.